Dave, well, welcome back to another segment in our Wood Tech series.
Thanks, Jim.
We were kind of talking about basic job site setup from a tool standpoint. You got a miter saw, maybe you have a table saw, but you'd mentioned, and for good reason, there's other considerations when you start a job. There's a lot of other parts and pieces to it, from safety to L&I, things like that. So maybe we could just talk about that piece first and then maybe touch on a little bit of the tool stuff.
This is the most difficult question you've asked me so far. So, it does depend on the job, okay, and how long you're going to be there and that sort of thing. Yeah. If it's going to be a longer remodel, I think a lot of it's in the estimate and a lot of it's in your initial evaluation of the job.
Okay.
So L&I makes sure that you have an accident prevention plan. That can be standard pretty much across your firm. But then each individual job has its own considerations. And they call it a job hazard analysis. I think it's pretty good. You could work that in, to your company. And the idea being that each job presents different challenges for access. So maybe it's heights that you're looking at. Maybe like in my neighborhood in Green Lake, there's very little space between the homes. I even see some eaves that come down and they're no more than 18 inches apart.
House to house.
Yeah, which makes getting up, you're going to get up on the gable end instead. So things are going to change. How often are you going to be up there? So heights are a real big one, whether you're going to use planks, whether you're going to use staging. It's nice also to look at other things safety-wise. I know it's going to sound funny, but we had one job where a Rottweiler was constantly challenging the fence all the time.
Yeah.
And it would freak out anyone that wasn't prepared for this thing coming over. And we just couldn't do anything with the owner. So little things like that are really big.
Yeah.
Other safety considerations could be holes, it could be landscaping, or it could be something, and this comes under overall protection, where you want to make sure that you don't do any harm. Kind of like physician do no harm, or remodeler do no more harm. Yeah. So you're coming in and you're going to be redoing a space. That's great.
Yeah.
But you also have to be considerate of the finished space and how you don't want to get into that. We have various curtain walls, ways to keep dust out for one, but it may be something that you want to do more permanently. Yeah. We've actually walled off some places before, so there was no way that it could get anything into another space.
Yeah.
However, if you're on the job for, say, just a few days, maybe putting cabinets in or something like that, you'll have to get a little bit more creative because it's going to be take down, put up, take down, put up.
Yeah. Yeah, one thing that comes to mind, we did a short segment on best practices pouring concrete flat work. And one of the things was day of the pour and prepping. And one thing I remember was just like power lines. If you're on site for 3 months at a remodel project, you're probably maybe pouring some concrete or having a truss truck or somebody coming in that, just some real hazards that could be challenging.
But because same thing for a roof. If you've got a masthead coming up and you've got a really low power line, I know that I had to have mine raised. I actually relocated it because it was dangerous for anyone up on the roof.
Gotcha.
So all of these little hazards add up to be a big problem, and it's something that you can usually do prior to starting the job. Also, for your clients, for you to look that prepared, like you thought all this out, they think you're God, because they hear all these stories about remodeling where someone didn't care about this. And the other big one for me is I'm setting up for other trades.
Right.
So as a remodeler, you have certified trades coming in. You don't do plumbing, you don't do electric. There may be some other specialty people that come in. Maybe it's a countertop installer, maybe it's a cabinet installer. I want to make sure that as they're coming in, I've smoothed the path. There's nothing in their way. They can do their job efficiently and get out quickly. And I want to make sure that they have what they need.
Yeah. Okay. If we shift to just some of the basic tools that I know you'll touch on in this series, miter saw, tabletop, table saw. Around here a lot of times it's hands and knees, with a little bit of your miter saw's on the floor and you're blocking it up to keep it somewhat level. I'm assuming if you're a professional, you're going at it a little bit differently.
Well, I used to do a lot of finish work, so for finish trim and everything. And let's say that you're casing doors and windows and you're installing base, crown molding, that sort of thing. You tend to set things up a little bit differently. Also, if you're getting dimension, like finished millwork, that's fine. But if you're getting dimension lumber, and just working with dimension lumber, that's fine. It's all sized. But if I have to routine, and I do often size things down, in addition, I might bring a table saw for sure and a miter saw, but I might actually bring a suitcase planer, a small planer, and be able to size material down to fit. And a lot of times in a remodel, that's important because you've got layer upon layer. You take a few away and you realize that you're at a different height. So dyeing that millwork in may be something where you want to put a backer piece or you want to use thinner or thicker. So a planer, as funny as that sounds, is big. And then I think the biggest one of all is something to work with the dust. So you have two kinds, basically. You have a shop vac and a dust extractor. The dust extractor, when you turn the tool on, the vacuum comes on, okay? And you want to have it so that now the law is that you must have a HEPA filter. So it basically is a finer filter than you would see in the old shop vacs. And I like to go for a more quiet one as well. And most of my tools are actually capable of being dust extracted. Miter saw is a tough one because you end up with a lot of dust in the air in a miter saw, and hopefully you don't have to cut things like MDF, which tends to have this fine dust spread everywhere. And think about this, you also wear all that dust, and if you walk through a finished portion of the house, you're just spreading it everywhere. You are the super spreader of dust, and that's not where we want to be.
That's right. Well, I'm so glad we did this segment, man. Thank you very much.
Okay, thanks, Jim.